Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my December reading wrap up. This is my last wrap up for 2019. I am planning on doing a whole comprehensive one of the entire year, but this is the last monthly wrap up. So December was probably my weakest reading month since graduating college back in May. I would say the weakest of the year, but I'm thinking there was like 1 or 2 months when I was still in school when I didn't really read very much. So I read 4 books in December, which like isn't terrible or anything. It's well below what I've been averaging this year, but I'm not even upset about it. If you guys stayed caught up on my Vlogmas videos this month, then you know exactly what was going on in my life. I wrote it down in the page in my journal so I could kind of remember what was going on this month. I posted 26 videos in December. I moved, I adopted my cats, my best friend visited, I did Vlogmas, I finished a draft of my book, I've been doing a ton of beta reads basically all year. So technically in I almost said 2018. Technically in 2019 I read 64 published books, but with all of my beta reads and stuff, I'm thinking I read at least 75 books, which is better than usual for me. So like I said, we have 4 books to talk about for December. 1 was a 5-star, 2 were 4 stars, and 1 was 3 stars. Honestly, pretty solid month overall. I would love to hear down below in the comments what some of your favorite books that you read in December were, so I can add them for my TBR for the new year, especially if you've read a new release recently that was awesome. I have quickly realized that I have no idea what's going on in publishing right now. Like, I have no idea what books have been coming out recently. I've been in a cave the past 2 months with NaNoWriMo and then with Vlogmas and the move and stuff. Like, these past 2 months, I have no idea what is going on. So let's get straight into the video. The first book that I have to talk about was my 5-star read of the month, and that was Recursion by Blake Crouch. This ended up in my favorite books of the year video. This is an adult thriller. I picked this up because I read his novel Dark Matter a few years ago and loved it, and this one definitely did not disappoint. It was just as good, if not better. It's hard to compare the two because it's been so long since I've read Dark Matter. Both are fantastic regardless. You should read both of them. So in Recursion, we're following 2 different characters. One is a scientist and one is a police officer. And we learn that this thing called false identity syndrome is sort of sweeping the world. They don't really know what it is. They think it's some kind of disease, but they have no idea how people are catching it. Basically, people are becoming tortured with memories of a life that they never lived, and then waking up one day and suddenly being able to remember both lives, like the life they actually lived and this fantasy one that they were convinced was real. Suicide rates are skyrocketing because people liked the fake life that they had more than their real life, and they like don't know how to deal with these 2 sets of memories. The best way to describe this was an example early on in the books. There's this woman who was convinced she was married to this other man and had a family with him and everything. She can remember every moment of their marriage, she can remember their wedding, then wakes up one day to realize that she's not that person. She was never married to this man, her children don't exist. But then when the police questioned her for like the guest list for her wedding and stuff, she gave them all these names and they went out to find those people, and those people also had memories of this wedding that never happened. This book was so much fun. It was crazy. I was trying to wrap my head around to try to figure out what was going on the entire time. It was just mind-boggling to think about like how this would work, and with every revelation, every little piece that we get along the book, I just got more and more confused in like a good way, just trying to figure out like the implications of this and exactly what this would mean, and like how confusing and disorienting it would be to have 2 completely opposite sets of memory. I listened to this on audiobook and I would highly recommend listening to it that way. I realized I got a little distracted and I didn't finish telling you what the book was about. The scientist main character is basically trying to come up with a cure for Alzheimer's because her mother has it, and so she makes this chair which essentially makes time capsules of memory to give back lost memories to Alzheimer patients. I would highly recommend this. It's definitely one of my favorite thrillers that I've read this year. I really enjoy Blake Crouch's writing style. He plots things so well. I thought I knew where this book was going. I thought I had everything figured out, and then everything just like flipped upside down halfway through the book and it just went in a completely opposite direction, which I really appreciate. I hate when books are predictable. So complicated, something that really makes you think. Like, I finished this at the beginning of the month, probably the first week of December, and I'm still just thinking about it. The second book that I read in December was Bitter Demons by Sarah Cannon. This is the 3rd book in her Shadow Demon saga. These are like a young adult paranormal romance series. We're following our main character Harper, who's been in the foster system her whole life, and she keeps getting kicked out of all of these houses because people think she's a delinquent when really she has some kind of powers that she doesn't understand and she can't control. When she gets angry, she can like set houses on fire or make things move with her mind, and she doesn't realize why it's happening. So she ends up at this house for troubled girls in a small town as her last chance before they send her to juvie. And in the small town, she comes to learn that there's something weird going on with the cheerleading squad. All of the cheerleaders and all of the alumni who had been on the squad have gone on to be like super powerful in a way that's not normal. Like, all of these women went on to be hugely successful, and the whole town kind of idolizes the cheerleading squad. And the first book is all about her joining the squad and kind of realizing what the heck is going on with them. Give you a hint, it's like a supernatural kind of deal. And these books are really short, they're really fast. I really like the author. She's an author tuber here on YouTube. Her name is Sarah Cannon. She's got great videos if you're interested in writing or publishing. And so I wanted to check out her series. Now these books are pretty old. I think she published the first one like 10 years ago. She's written like, I don't know, she's got like 23 books out now. It's been a fun series so far. This was the third book in the series. I think there's 10 books, or there are going to be 10 books in the series. And for whatever reason, I've just been in the mood for like trashy young adult paranormal romances, like the kind of vibe of the books that I got back when I was like 16, when I was reading like Twilight and Hush Hush and all of those kind of books. And so reading this series has been fun. I think I'm gonna keep reading it. They're not my favorite so far, but I keep hearing that the books get so much better as the series goes on, so I keep pushing through because I'm really interested to see the quality of the later books in the series and compare them to these first couple of ones. So I'm enjoying my experience reading these so far for sure. The third book that I read this month was Sick Kids in Love by Hannah Moskowitz. This is a YA contemporary romance between two chronically ill kids. Specifies on the front that they don't die in this one, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. This was so freaking cute. Exactly what I was in the mood for, exactly what I wanted going into this. It felt like a rom-com. I was smiling. It just felt so wholesome and heartwarming. It was really cute. I really had a fun time with it. The author's, not even her writing style, her storytelling style isn't my favorite. This is something that I've learned about myself. I've read a lot of books that are written like this. I do not like time jumps or jumping over what I would consider to be important scenes. Like, there's all of this build up, for example, of like the first time she's gonna meet his family and she's gonna go have dinner with him or whatever, and it's gonna be this whole big deal, and then we don't see the scene of her having dinner with his family. It's just like a line break. And then a week later, everything went well and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, why would you not show that scene? That just seems so important to see. And it was a trend. Like, we would just skip over all of these scenes and they were never actually on the page. And I hate when books do that because I don't understand it. Like, there's something to say for having, you know, some summary and some scene to keep the pacing tight. But if you're gonna show any scene, why wouldn't you show the important ones? I just did not like that aspect of the book. I got really frustrated because every time I was like reading to like the buildup of a moment in my head, I'm just like, am I actually gonna get to see this or not? Like, it could go either way at this point. So if anything, I was just a little disappointed because I wanted more of it. I wanted to actually go through the storyline of them falling in love because they had so many cute moments. It just felt odd that we were passing over so many of them. So our main character's name is Isabel. Now that I said all that, let me tell you a little more about what it's about. She's rheumatoid arthritis and her father is the chief of surgery at the hospital, I think, and her mom left years ago. And she has a rule that she doesn't date anyone. And so she meets a boy while she's at the hospital who has another chronic illness that she's never heard of before, and the two start to get to know each other. He's like the first person in her life who really understands what it means to be sick, but not dying, just living with being a sick person, and how that doesn't have to be a bad thing, and how healthy people don't really know how to talk about it or how to treat people. This is an Own Voices novel, and I just felt so seen with a lot of this book. Like, this is a part of my life that I really don't see represented in books often, and if it's in books, it's often not represented very well. Yeah, this book really meant something to me, and it was very touching for me in a lot of ways, and I really, really enjoyed reading it. All of my issues with it aside, it was a really fun time. I would definitely recommend this one. Very refreshing. I'm really glad I got to this before the end of the year. And then the final book that I read in December was The Afterlife of Holly Chase. I've been meaning to read this book around Christmas time for the past like 3 years, and I just have never gotten around to it. And even this year, Christmas had already passed. I think it was like the day or two afterwards, and I was like, not again. Not this year. And I finally picked it up and was determined to finish it by the end of the year, and I finished it on New Year's Eve. This is a YA retelling of A Christmas Carol, where basically there is a company that's been inspired by A Christmas Carol. They have one target every year who's a Scrooge who they try to do like an intervention for, and specifically these Scrooges have the potential to go on and do something amazing later in their life, and so they're trying to save them in order to make a difference in the world, basically. And our main character, Holly, works for this company now. And this was really cute. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Honestly, I went in with pretty high expectations because I'd heard such great things about this book, and because there'd been that like 3-year build-up to me finally reading it, and I had fun with it. It was cute. I listened to the audiobook, but it's not a new favorite of mine. I do really like the ending of the book. I was worried there for a second on where they were gonna go with this, but the ending I was very satisfied by. Again, a very like wholesome, cutesy book, definitely a good thing to read around Christmas time, not just because of the like Christmas Carol part of it, just the like feeling you get from it, and kind of feels like the like Hallmark or Lifetime movies with like the strong wholesome message, but it was in a good way. It was cute. I really enjoyed it. This one also does the weird time jumps, not in the same way that Sick Kids in Love does it, where it like passes over important scenes, but like actual legitimate like 5 years later. And for whatever reason, I just hate that in books and stories. Like, I have yet to see anything that I think pulls it off. I just hate massive time jumps like that. Like, it makes sense in this book. I don't know how she would have done it without it, but it wasn't off to a good start for me when it was like 5 years later. I was like, are you serious? But yeah, I would definitely recommend this one. I had a good time with it. This wrap up is obviously going to be a lot shorter than the previous months have been, just because I only read 4 books. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new here, I would love it if you would subscribe and stick around. I put up at least 2 to 3 new videos every single week. All my links are down below if you want to follow me elsewhere, and I'd appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up because it helps out my channel a lot. And please tell me down below in the comments what your favorite book that you read in December was. I would love to hear about it. And other than that, I think I will just see you guys in another video very, very soon. Bye.
So hit me. So hit me. So hit me. First a confession. With you I feel a connection. With